What do you do when you are starting your coaching practice? How many questions do you even have? I had so many when I was just starting out as a coach. And today we're going to tackle the most important ones so that whether you're an absolute beginner in the coaching space or you're ready to scale, you're going to know exactly what your next step is. Stay tuned.
Center yourself.
Hello, everybody. So, as you can see, today's session is nothing like what we normally do. I have a very special guest that I would like to introduce you to. My friend and one of my favorite clients, I should be going this way, Jacob Rupp. And Jacob has his own coaching program that we helped him build, actually. And what I love about Jacob and his program is that it is extremely complementary to what we do here at EV. In fact, many of the people that aren't quite ready for impact with influence, we refer over to Jacob. So I figured for so many of you in this community who are just starting out, who are not really 100% dialed in on what your coaching topic is or what the transformation is that you create, Jacob is totally the guy who's going to have the answers to what you should be focusing on right now. And if you're in the space, you've been in the space for a while, you know exactly what you coach on. We're going to talk about the differences between Jacob's program and my program. And so that way you can see what your next best step is. Does that sound good? All right. If you are watching live, say hi in the comments. Tell me what the weather's like outside. Tell me where you're at, because Jacob, it's like warm where you're at. It's probably really nice, right?
It's
In
kind of
Arizona.
awkward because we live in the desert, but it's cold. So we feel like we don't get to own the fact that it's cold. So I have a
No, you
light
don't get
sweater
on that fact.
on.
No, and you went there from
Plus,
Minnesota. So like
the
Minnesota
truth
is
is,
legit
thanks to
cold.
you, thanks to you and all of the hard work you've done, we were able to leave and go to a warmer client and climate, both of them. And so yes, we would be doing this in the pool, but Pat probably wouldn't be so happy with that.
True enough. We'll save that for a different show. All right. So I would love to hear from the folks that are watching live. And if you're watching the replay, give me a big old hashtag replay and tell me, how long have you been coaching? So I want to get a sense of the room, just so I know how long you guys have been coaching. Some of you are probably going to be a lot more experienced. Some are going to be just getting into coaching. No matter what, we have something for you here today. Oh my gosh, we have someone from sunny Florida. I'm not jealous at all, obviously. Welcome, Neil. Let's get into it. I have a lot of different questions. So if you have questions about coaching, now is a really good time to sort of pop them into the chat, into the comment section, and we can take them on at the end. But I thought we would start off, Jacob, by discussing what the F even is coaching, because I think a lot of people have misconceptions about it, right?
100%. I mean, it's so funny. Actually, some people came to our doorway and like just randomly accosted us, and they like, well, what do you do for a living? Because one of the things that you teach in your program is living in your bliss. And so I sort of live in my bliss, and you encouraged me to buy sort of the sports car of my dreams. And he's looking at my car, and he's looking at me, and he's like, "What do you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm a coach." And he was like a basketball coach? And I was like, no, see, I'm an executive coach. And I also train other coaches how to build their practices. And he's like, okay, that sounds really cool. So really, a lot of people don't know what coaching is. And most people are kind of already coaching based on the very expanded definition that you and I love to do. If you're a cheerleader, if you are working in, really, I like to say that if you do things where you help other people achieve the different things that they want in their life, that's a coach. Now, the big difference that I always love to tell people is that it's got to be for money, right? If you love to help people, but you coach for free, that's not actually coaching. Coaching is being paid to help a person, to partner with a person, which is also a really big distinction, because unlike other modalities of therapy, perhaps, or clergy or teaching, you're not the sage on the stage. You're walking hand in hand with your client very often to enable them to get to a pre-established goal, so to speak, right? So that's the really big thing of what coaching is. It's really a paid partnership between you, the coach, and the client to help them get to where they want to go.
I love that. That makes so much sense. I love that hand in hand definition. There's a thought partnership, there's an implementation partnership. And that's what makes coaching different from just being like, hey, I'm your friend. And then you call me up and we chat about stuff. And then you don't take any of my advice because it was free and you undervalued it. And then the next time when we have a conversation, you have zero skin in the game. And then it's either awkward or we just pretend it never happened and we just keep talking and you keep talking about your problems again. And then I hold space, and that's friendship, right? There's a big difference there. So you work with a lot of folks who are kind of recovering clergy. You're recovering clergy, right? You're Rabbi Rupp. So you're coming from the spiritual world. You're coming from the nonprofit world. You work with a lot of recovering therapists. So do we. What do you find is one of the hardest things for folks who are coming from these areas to get over?
I got in big trouble for this one because when I speak with prospects, when I speak with clients, even if we don't work together, I usually find the one golden line and I write the post that finds my ideal prospect, which by the way is something that I learned from you, right? So I was speaking with someone that actually said no to working with us, but she gave such a phenomenal line that I was like, I'm using this forever. She said when she was getting one of her 15 master's degrees, right? Again, she's been in school forever, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars invested in an education, right? And she's not making ends meet. And she's upset and she's bitter. And there's back and forth about, how little money can insurance get away with, all this kind of stuff. And she said, enrich, but don't become rich. That's the biggest problem that I find around the people that usually come to work with us is there's massive money mindset issues. That's one very important thing. Also, there's a general lack of understanding about what coaching is and how to structure it. Really, and if we're talking limiting beliefs, also people think they're not ready. And that's the biggest thing. And I think culturally, we're sold this bag of goods that we aren't ready. But the reality is, in a great coaching relationship, you just have to be a little bit further along the path than your clients. You don't have to necessarily have the six-pack abs if that's not what you're doing, right? But you're just helping people live more healthy lifestyles. If you've spent time studying it and researching it, and I actually said this to a client of mine is like, look, you get this. You get that coaching is about speed. It's about investing in someone who's put the time in and created the results so you can get it faster. Because nowadays, information should be free. You should never pay for information. You should pay for transformation and you should pay for speed.
I love that. And something that came up on one of our coaching calls recently is people who feel like they're not ready. They're like, but then if I charge money for it, then I'm going to feel like an imposter. I'm going to feel like a fraud. Like, how dare I, who am not that much further along than my clients are, how dare I charge for my advice or my support and so on and so forth. And the counsel that we gave this particular client who brought this up is, you're only an imposter. You're only a fraud if you don't practice what you preach. That's who a fraud is. A fraud is somebody who does not take their own medicine and does not practice what they preach. But what we find in our coaching practice, and Jacob, I'm sure you find this too, the very problem that you want to solve, and this is why we have a lot of push-pull with being a fraud or not feeling ready and not feeling far enough along yet, is because usually if you're really like a coach by vocation and you're not just like, oh my God, he has a Beamer and I want in on that. If you're that coach, where you're just doing it for the money, you probably shouldn't be on this live stream because we're probably going to give you advice that's going to piss you off. But if you're somebody who is just, you can't not do it. Like, you've always been a coach, even before you were charging money for it, you were always doing the act of coaching. You do it to yourself, you do it to others. It just is a part of who you are. The thing that you're most likely to be drawn to, the thing that just like, you're just like, oh, I've got to solve this problem. It's always the problem that you have, the one that's given you the most pain. And you have and I like that. I want that from people because that tells me that you're going to have a deeply vested interest in figuring out the systems. You're not going to give up at the third or fourth obstacle that you hit. You're going to, obstacle number 50, you're still going to be going bloodied with like mud and blood in your mouth. You're going to be like, nope, I'm going to keep going. And that level of commitment to the work is what allows you to support people who are going to struggle and hit those same obstacles. You're going to know before they even know, like, Jacob, how much did we talk about this, right? Like, if you can get into their consciousness that way, then you're going to be able to pull them out of resistance before they even really fall into it, because you can see it coming. They can't hide from you. They won't be able to give you bullshit that you'll buy because you didn't buy your own bullshit.
It's so funny. And I just want to point this out, that if you're a really great coach, your clients will want to be sending you so many more clients. So as much as I appreciate you highlighting us, I really, again, you're not paying me to promote your program. I'm choosing to promote your program. I wanted to share one of the things that your amazing mindset coach, David, who's a part of Impact with Influence, was always talking about, was this obsession with the ego. And if you have trouble with like, am I an imposter, or what are they going to think about me? That's your own stupid ego. And if you move into a place of service, I'm here to serve somebody else, right? The imposter syndrome goes away because I'm just here to contribute value. That's the first and most important point. The second thing is exactly like you said. There are certain people, God knows, as an executive coach, I work with tons of incredibly wealthy people that made money doing incredibly unsexy things. Industrial cleaning, energy, like gas. And like these guys are whales, guys and girls, are men and women, excuse me, or of other genders, like whatever it is, we're fully inclusive here. But the idea is like, they learned how to create meaning, even though the things they were doing were not necessarily meaningful. That's one stream of person. And guess what? You'll know if that's you or not, because you've probably been doing work like that. It hasn't been terrible for you. On the flip side, if you need to love what you do, which is pretty much everybody I'm talking to, they're like, but I need meaning in my work. I need to love it. And like, for me, like if you would offer me like $1 billion to sit there and drool on myself for from 9 to 5 working for somebody else, I don't think I'd do it. As long as I might just take the money and then do what I'm doing now, right? Or I'll just make the $1 billion.
I think you have to pay it back.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, probably health-wise or relationship-wise, you'd have to pay it back.
So the idea is like, if you love helping people and we can give you the ingredients to just be able to charge a lot of money for it and be able to really create a lot of value, like that's the dream. That's the dream. And that's why I'm so excited about what coaching is all about.
I love that. I love that. Somebody asked, we were about to get into what do you really need to start a coaching business? And right then somebody asked, do you need to have a certification to be a coach? What do you think?
Only if you don't want to get results. I see certification. Geeta is one of those people. None of the really good coaches have any certification, but they make certification for less qualified coaches to be certified in their method. So if you want to be a low-paid, sucky coach, get certified. If you want to kick ass and take names, candidly, get really good at something. And then again, that's the bottom line is, if you look for the kind of clients you actually want to work with, they don't care what other institution gave you a degree that says you know what you're doing. They want to know, can you get them results, right? And that's what I always tell my clients. It's like, I am proud of the fact that I don't have a certification because I've got all of these other people that have made a crap load of money based on what I said. So if you want certification, go to the person that's gotten certified. And if you want to just make money and be successful, come to me.
I love that. It depends on what you classify as certification. And I know what you're asking is, do I need to have a piece of paper that says I'm a certified life coach or a certified business coach or whatever it is? Or do you choose the certification that both Jacob and I chose, which is the certification of results in real life, right? It's like, it's whichever certificate most appeals to you. And you know what? There's no right or wrong. The way I look at it is, look at how you would make a buying decision. If for you, the paper qualification is absolutely primo, then you need it. You need it because that's your mindset. You're not going to be able to sell coaching.
That's the point. I need this. The client doesn't need this. And then you're like, do I really need some piece of paper? And again, I cut you off.
No worries. No, go for it.
Again, one of the things, and this is where I think there might be a slight distinction between where we would graduate people into your program, which is something I've done many times, and I'm so thrilled to do it, is like, if you're not coming from if you're not coming from an entrepreneurial background, you have to realize that a coaching business is a business. And in a business, if you study the startup world, like there's tons and tons of testing. And so instead of going all in, again, and like the biggest thing, like, because we work with people that literally have, no income. Again, we'll have people that say, well, I'm a successful therapist. I'm like, but you're a coach, and how much money getting coaching? Oh, $5? Okay, so let's say your coaching business isn't flying yet. right? So the idea would be that you need to get experience. You need to be able to go out and test the market, and you have to see who you love and who loves you and who pays you a lot of money. And once you have all that, you're going to realize you didn't need the certification. And if you do need to go back and get other tools, that's fine. But more important, get the skills and the mindset to be successful as a coach. Don't go and like over, because that's the whole like college lie that we have. Sorry, I said that. I have a college education, multiple. But the idea is like, it's this whole thing is like spend a crap load. You're 18 years old and then you don't know what you're doing. So like, again, I majored kind of in like drinking and trying to find my wife, who's now my business partner. So I guess I was successful, but I would have loved to have not had to pay the University of California for that.
And that's such a good point because, whether you're a coach listening to this, where you're facing some resistance from your clients who are like, oh, I don't know if I can pay you like $2,000 or $3,000 or $10,000 or $15,000 to work with you. Meanwhile, that same client has paid University of California, and I name just any random university, $300,000.
Right.
Say what?
I said they'll get you with a lawsuit also now.
Yeah, exactly. You'll have paid some like institution hundreds of thousands of dollars to bring you to the point where you now still have a problem, right? And certification can be like that. Again, I'm not saying no to certification at all. Don't get me wrong. And I don't get Jacob wrong either, because I know what he's saying. He's saying that if you believe that you don't have the skills and you're like, no, I would feel a lot more comfortable if I had these skills and I need to practice them, go get the certification. If, on the other hand, you've been a coach for longer than you've been able to talk, and that's just who you are and what you do, you don't need a piece of paper to prove that you've got the goods. All you need is real life results. And starting, and what Jacob was talking about, which is to do a few tests, like get out in the market, work with a bunch of different people. And this is exactly, so if you're in that place where you're like, I know I'm good at this, I know I'm good at helping people, this is literally what I do, all my friends, I'm the person that everybody calls when shit goes down, I would like to be able to monetize it, but I don't really know what my topic is yet. If that's where you're sitting, you need to work with Jacob. You're too early for me. I can't help you yet, because I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions and you're not going to have the answers. Jacob's process will help you find those answers, make some money, get solid in your coaching practice, and then you will come to me to solidify it, deepen it, systematize it, and scale it.
Scale it. Yeah, scale for sure. That's the whole point. If you are, and again, like it's super awkward because in a lot of ways, like numbers is like weight. You're like, well, how many pounds did you lose, or how much pound? And most people are like, oh my God. And if you have again, a trainer like asks that question front up, because it's like, it's not like there's not like, it's like emotional connection. Same thing with money. Like if you're not doing $10,000 to $20,000 in your business, from my perspective, you don't have a product. You have nothing tested, right? Once you start to hit those numbers, you'll know who you want to work with. You know what lights you up. Again, you might be good at something, but you hate doing it, right? You'll have something that works. And then again, that was our experience of working with Geeta. It's like we were making a good 20K a month over month. We worked with her, and then the business went to 80, 100K. And that was kind of our experience. And so that's with all of my clients that know what they're doing. I'm like, dude, you got to meet Geeta. And they're like, oh, that lady you're always quoting? I'm like, yeah, her, talk to her. And that's how this idea is. So if you, again, there's no shame, no harm, no foul, but if you're not getting reliably month over month, 100K, right? I'm sorry, that other way. 10 to 20K. If you're not doing that reliably month over month, you don't yet have the fundamentals of a business. Let's build that. And again, getting to that number is not hard. We do it in our program in 8 weeks. It shouldn't take you longer than that. Let's get you there and let's graduate you if you're really serious about building this business.
Exactly. And that, so if you, just to summarize, what you really need to start a coaching business, you need an entrepreneur's mindset. Do we want to talk a little bit about that? Entrepreneur versus employee?
Yeah, I would say you don't even need that, because we'll actually train you in that. I think what people need is a desire. You know how like if like one, like when you kind of admit that it's like, okay, I think this is over. Like if you're sitting in job after job, and I spent 10 years in a midlife crisis when I was like, I don't know, 20, late 20s, right? Like if you're sitting in job after job after job, and you're just like, there's no freedom here. There's no financial freedom, creative freedom. I'm not doing what I love. So it's like, you're kind of in a difficult place. It's better to just admit that maybe you're not meant to work for somebody else. Now you're scared, just like, well, what am I gonna do about the paycheck? And I have 4 kids, and like, my wife and I had worked together, and we had, the whole thing, we're like, how do we throw this whole thing apart? And Geeta, you have a very similar story. It's like you have to admit like what's actually going on. So you need the courage to pursue your dreams. You have to have the dream, and you have to have, I think in my mind, care about serving other people. If you have that, we can help you build the entrepreneur mindset and clarify how it's different from the employee mindset, which we can do now if you want or not.
Totally. I would love to get into that. So just to summarize what you just said, because I love you talk really fast and I want to make sure people this has landed because it's gold.
This is bad news if you're summarizing me because you're talking usually very creatively and I'm like, hang on, I got to get all of that.
I know. This is why we love working together so much. So what Jacob is talking about is you basically sometimes people look at us, and I really think this, and God knows and I know this because I've done it when it was my turn to look at other people. We look at the people that we admire and think, wow, they're so talented, but they have this skill set, they have this depth, they have this whatever, this talent. I don't. And therefore, obviously they're successful, but I'm just me. Believe me, I said literally verbatim the same freaking thing when my son was born in 2012. And I was like, what? I've been a journalist since I was 12 years old, getting paid to write, but I felt like I had maxed out where that would take me. I had freelanced, I had worked on staff at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, this is the biggest media corporation in this country. I'd been on television, I had my face on billboards and shit. I had done it. I had hit the pinnacle and I was like, that's it. This is not enough. I'm not happy. I don't fit in. I don't want this. I could not care less about the billboards. I don't care. So I was like, fuck, what do I do? I have zero real skills. All I know how to do is tell stories, which we often undervalue our deepest gifts. Wouldn't you say?
All the time, 100%.
I thought it was such a terror. I was like, what the hell am I going to do with my life? Turns out storytelling is a very lucrative skill.
Well, I think that's exactly the thing is if you find the right vehicle for your gifts,
yes.
Again, and you don't feel like you're working right now, and I never feel like I'm working right now, whatever, right? So the idea is if that thing that you said, by the way, is one of the biggest reasons why people might not think that they're ready, and it is a complete myth, and I'll tell you why that is. Basically, if you think to yourself, as a coach is a relationship, just like a spouse is a relationship. So even if you look at Gita and you're like, she is the most polished, clear, have this crazy energy, for not her clients, they're intimidated by that. People might look at me and say, you have a square jaw or a short haircut, right? And that's energy. And I was actually disqualified from working with a very large international institution because my biceps were too big and they thought it would intimidate the people I was working with. What that means, again, I was very upset about that, right? But the idea was that every single person is what their audience needs. So yes. As long as they're being honest to themselves and not trying to be you or being me, they will find their tribe. It's just that they, again, like I said, they have that desire and that commitment to putting in the work, because you put in the work to find your voice. And that's why you have a voice. And other people, they're like, I'm just going to try to model Gita or Tony Robbins or something else. It's just be yourself and your people will be attracted to you.
Exactly. And that's why both Jacob and I in our programs do a lot of deep mindset work, because the lack of self-trust, the lack of self-belief, that is the actual impediment. It's not a lack of certification. It's not a lack of skills. It's not a lack of life experience. It's almost never that. It is a lack of self-belief, because when you don't believe in yourself, then what happens is you immediately buy any evidence that says that you're not good enough, instead of ignoring that evidence and continuing to look for all the evidence that says you are good enough. Because I promise you that if you tweak your lens and start being like, I'm going to ignore all evidence that I'm not good enough and only focus on the evidence that I am good enough, I promise you, you will automatically find that you are good enough. That's how the mind works, friends.
Can I just point out that what you're saying, people have spent trillions of dollars to convince us that we're not good enough. The entire educational system is built to tell us you're not good enough. Why? So you go out and spend more money on education, or so you go out and spend more money on stuff. And again, look at me. I'm wearing an exercise shirt that costs $150, and I've got an 80 multiple, whatever. I have an expensive car. So don't tell me I'm not drawn after extra. I love it, but I don't think that's going to make me good. I don't think I'm better than you because I have it. The point is you have to realize that we are dropped into a system that tells us we're not good enough. And so that's why what you do and what I do and what anyone that's doing actually successful coaching programs is first of all train people to trust their intuition, to hear their intuition, and to actually start to bet on themselves instead of betting on these huge systems that are ultimately failing us and enriching themselves. Not to make a big conspiracy, but that's what I think it is.
Yeah, no, I think that makes so much sense. And thanks, Neil says it's somewhat unfortunate that we're all conditioned to seek permission from authority figures to give ourselves permission to truly live. It's exactly that. I'm not
100%.
saying that there isn't room for improvement. Gosh knows there's room for improvement at all times. No matter what pinnacle you're at, there's always room for improvement. But all the true innovators, all the people who break the mold, who evolve industries, who change the game, all of these people don't come in there just building a better mousetrap. They don't just take like what everybody else is doing and then add like a little bit of layer to it and then be like, oh, look, that's my thing. And now suddenly it's that much better. That's never how it works. They're always the misfits. They're always the people who don't belong. They're always the people who can't quite do it the way that everybody else teaches. Man, my now 7-figure business became a 7-figure business when I stopped fighting what I thought my failings were. What were my failings? The fact that I wanted really good work-life balance. I have small children. I wanted to be present for them. I'm the mother. I was nursing. I had sleep deprivation. I had all of this stuff. I couldn't work like some of these young 20-year-old men in the space. I couldn't do all of the things. I just couldn't fucking do it. I didn't have the energy for it. First, I beat myself up for not being disciplined enough. And then at some point, I was just like, you know what? If I'm struggling this much, there must be other people that struggle too. So I started looking at all the things that were problems for me and I embraced them. And I said, okay, you become the safety railings on this journey now. These are the creative constraints. And I'm going to start to iterate within these constraints. And guess what? That led me to simplify our systems by 80% roughly. Like we just cut shit out. And guess what? It worked better. I enjoyed it more. It was wildly more profitable. It was wildly more transformative for everybody involved. Myself, my team, the clients, everybody. Everybody enjoyed it more. Everybody got more out of it because we were able to put more of myself, our essence into it rather than bank on all the systems and the tech and the blah and all of that stuff. All of that stuff is still in there, but it is not what makes the world go round. So I wanted to ask, everybody's probably wondering, but Jacob, if I've been in therapy or if I've never had a coaching client before and I'm starting at absolute zero, where do I get that first client to pay me? Like, how do I ask for the money? That's crazy. How do I do that?
Right. So likely these people haven't built their own businesses before, because if they have, this is what we would say is $1 is always the most important dollar. And the easiest place to get to, again, everyone going back to this like self-comfort and self-trust. And I think that's such an important thing about your story is you were able to admit that what had been working for you wasn't working anymore. But then you had the self-trust to say, I'm just going to go forward and fall forward in order to, kind of find my stride. So if that's the case, if that's where you are and you're like, I'm ready to do this and I have no idea where, if I would ask you, like, what do you think you should do? People are like, Facebook ads, or I got to make a website, or let me make a business card, right? And I'm like, please God, no, don't do that, because that's not going to get you clients. Because you think randomly the guy at the gas station that picks up your business card is going to need this random, like, that's not how it happens. We buy from people we love and trust. Right? Whenever Geeta gets on the phone, I just give her my credit card. Why? Because I love and trust her. Right? How did she do that? She spoke to my heart. There's a connection. There's a connection between two people. And if the value is there and the trust is there, again, whatever Geeta might say, hey, you might need this. I'll be like, do you think this is the right thing for me? Right? That if you can establish trust and rapport with someone, that's what ends up happening. So you have to start by reverse engineering that system and say, who are people that know and trust me, right? Now that is likely going to be people in your circle, right? I built well over a multi-6-figure business from one connection that introduced me to one of his friends. And I was able to then from there build out an entire business. So it's not like I was on and prospecting so hard. And it's not that hard. You have to figure out, again, like we said, what are some things that you want to help people on? Who are the types of people you want to work with? Where are those types of people that know, like, and trust me? That's it. We have like literally within our program, like a matrix just to literally write it down. And you go from having no one to talk to, if you actually do the assignment, probably the neighborhood of 300 people. And those people, out of that, if you actually ask some of them, they'll say yes. It's not that hard.
It's amazing. And I think that this kind of asking works best when you've done the work yourself. So when you have worked on or gotten support, and that's why you want to work with a coach like Jacob or like myself, and be careful about who you choose as coaches. So one piece of advice that I would give you is if you're a new coach, yes, you should get a coach, because if you're not buying coaching, then why are you selling it? Like, it's like the doctor that doesn't go to the hospital. It kind of makes you suspicious, right? Or the baker that won't touch their own cake. Like, I'd be weirded out by that. So if money is tied to whatever, then you have to really go. What are you going to
Can
say?
I
Say
say
something.
something about that though? Because that's such an
Sure.
important thing. I've seen it literally happened last week, right? I had tremendous rapport with someone. The person literally said all the magic words you want to hear. I am so motivated. I am so ready to do this. You are the guy. I'm like, let's go for it. What's your credit card? He's like, I literally this, that, the other thing. And then he went and he bought 3 cheap coaching programs and literally is like in legal recourse against these other coaches because they didn't give him what he wanted. So it's much better to buy something of quality that is expensive once. It's much cheaper to spend more money once on something that works than piss away your money and your time on things that might be more affordable. Because at the end of the day, if you have something that works, it will make you back that money in spades. And if you don't
Yes.
have that, then you're going to be running and spinning your wheels. So I don't know if that was a rant. I don't
No,
know.
it's a good point. And again, what's going to give you the permission to spend? Like, no matter how much money you have lying around, you're never like, oh yes, absolutely, just take it all, right? Or take a large chunk of it. No one.
Take $1. Like most people, I had this thing after, like with my mindset where I was like buying steak, and this guy was like, "Do you want the grass fed or the cheap one?" And I had been broke for so long, I was like, "The cheap one." I've got like an $80,000+ sports car sitting outside. The guy's like, "Look at the sports car." I'm like, "What's the difference in price?" He's like, $2. And I was like, so the whole thing is going to cost me like an extra $6 so I can get like the premium stuff versus the junk. He's like, yeah. I'm like, I think I can afford that. So the point is like, no one's got an extra $6 lying around for something they don't perceive as valuable.
Yes, you have to perceive it as valuable, and that's the crux of it. So my suggestion is, if you're a beginner coach, I think a really big part of this is getting the right coach to help you. Because if you work with really crappy coaches because that's all you can afford, quote unquote, 2 really very painful things are about to happen to you, most likely, right? One is you're not going to get what you need. You're going to be just another number in their whatever their spreadsheet is. And 2, it's going to wreck your confidence in coaching. And it's going to that's going to create a whole bunch of limiting beliefs about you and what coaching means to you and whether you are allowed to charge other people for your coaching services. It creates a lot of yuckiness there. So my suggestion to you is get the absolute best, hire the absolute best coach that you can. And here's what to look for. So this is the important thing. I'll tell you what I look for. And Jacob, maybe you can share what you look for. I look for somebody, like our clients work with teams. I've worked with coaches where I'm working with the whole team. I'm looking for an organization that really understands depth. I'm not a small talk person. I'm not interested in surface level anything, not surface level tactics, not surface level metrics. I couldn't care less about all that stuff. I need to feel, my body needs to feel lit up. I want to, and especially now that I'm more advanced, I definitely want to work with people who can call me out on my bullshit. Like, they can see, they're not wowed by the glamour of Gita. They're not just buying into, like, when I tell them some sob story, because God knows I have my own victim-y parts to myself, right? So I'm just like, yeah, but I tried that, it didn't work, all this stuff. I want them to look right past it and be like, yeah, and now I'm going to connect you to your highest self. We're going to talk creation, and we're going to co-create together. That's where we're going to go. I understand, I will hold space for the difficult parts. We're going to use those parts. And that's the thing. You don't want somebody who denies the negative, because that's not productive either. You want somebody who can use the negative to fuel the positive. And that's what both Jacob and I do in our programs. And that's why I love recommending people to go work with you. Jacob, how do you choose your coaches?
It's very, very simple. I first of all figure out, is this what I want? And have you done it? That's sort of and again, it's super upfront. Like, and again, I come from the nonprofit world, and I don't know if you figured out, I'm all about the profit. If you want a feel good year long, I'm not going to get into, the
Don't
reason I
name
built.
names.
What's that? I'm not, no, there's no names, but there are so many people out there giving you a feel good year long process of business coaching and business accelerator and build your coaching business. And everyone in the damn course is broke and the coach is rich because they're making money off of broke people, right? That is not what I want. I want to find someone that, again, for me, the reason why we build our business is my whole approach is make money first, have the ability to invest then that money you made in scaling, in getting more support. Our coaches are expensive. We pay top dollar for our coaches, but I can do it because I have money coming in from what I'm doing, right? So if you want, again, for me, I'm extremely explicit about my messaging, thanks to Gita, because when I went to work with Gita, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I had all kinds of stuff I could do. Gita slowed it down. We built one thing and it broke and we didn't even do anything. But because I had the tools, that's the point. I had the tools of the things I learned in Gita's course. I right away rebuilt it. And that's the thing that actually took off. So I'm super dialed in. I know if you want to go from 0 to 20K and you want to help people, I will get you there. And I have tons of people that you can actually see talking to, also a skill I learned from Gita, like get your clients on and have them talk about the results they got, right? We're like, yep, 0 business, $20,000 business. That's it. If that's what you want, that's for me. And can I prove that I've done it? Yeah, many times over. So the idea is I look for people whose message resonates with me. I actually want this. And then I ask them, have you actually done this? And have you actually done this for other people?
Absolutely. And then when they're telling you, feel them. Like one of my things is I feel into people. That's one of the things that makes me a really good coach. And it's not a creepy thing. It's not weird. It's just it's listening deeply, listening
Feeling
beyond the words.
into.
Say that again.
Sorry. I said feeling into, not feeling. That's the difference between a creepy coach and a
Yes,
great coach.
exactly. My hands are over here and we're on Zoom.
Here, but I feel your heart.
Right. I feel their heart. Exactly. And it's the same when I'm coaching somebody. It's like they might tell me something and I'm like, wait a minute, that word you just said, there's something there. There's energy behind it. I want to come to mommy. Like, what is that? Right. And then we'll go into it. And again, there's no judgment. And I can say this honestly because when 99% of the time, I'm not perfect, I'm human, but 99% of the time when I'm sensing resistance in someone, when I'm seeing somebody refusing to break through, when I'm seeing somebody holding their cards close to their chest, I'm like, where's this resistance in me? Like, of all the 8 billion people in this world, this person is in front of me right now having this conversation with me. That's not a coincidence. So when I'm dismantling or feeling for that resistance, I'll be very honest with you. I'm not just doing it for them. I'm mostly doing it for me. I'm doing it to see, how does that resistance live in my heart and how can I jujitsu it? And I've got an amazing opportunity here because this person is outside me. So I have a little bit more objectivity with them than I would with myself. So I have a really great opportunity to take that. And it's a version, this brings it all full circle, Jacob, because you talked about that person that was telling you, oh, my job is to enrich, not get rich, right? And one of the things we teach in our program is no matter what, no matter how, whether the conversation ends in a sale, although most of your conversations will end in a sale when your messaging is dialed in and when you have the goods, right? But once in a while, you're going to have somebody like that where you can help them, but they just can't give themselves permission. What you're going to be able to do, what Jacob did, is he was able to mine that conversation for freaking amazing messaging. So he may not have closed that one client or brought them on, but that insight that he got from that conversation, he will be able to use to bring in 10 more clients, 10 better clients who are more ready, because he'll be able to call out their resistance as they're feeling it. And they're going to be like, oh my God, how does he know that about me? And then what else does he know about me? And that's what brings people in. That's the kind of messaging that draws people in. So
if I could just, I'm sorry,
yeah.
I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
If it's okay.
No.
I just want to point out for those people that are watching, if you watch someone who's really professional, it seems like what they're doing is effortless. And oftentimes it might be effortless because they've rehearsed it so many times. But the difference between like cheap speakers and expensive speakers is that the expensive speakers are able to quiet down the noise so you can hear the music. So one of the superpowers that Gita has that she trains people on, and clearly she's done it for so many times, is that because she can quiet down, again, and you just like watch the stuff that she comes out with about how deeply thought through the information is, she can quiet herself down and then hear the inner voice. And then she can bring that out for her clients. And again, for me, that's what I needed. I had so much noise and so many other people's noise, and she could just cut the crap and see inside. And I'm like, yes, whatever you want me to do, I'm going to do that, because there was such a resonance and trust that was built. So just because people might think that's a
Aw.
normal skill and you can train people, but like you're really like world class at that.
Thank you. That is such a huge compliment. I'm just gonna sit here now. My
Well,
work
no,
here is
no,
done.
here's the deal, like you don't have to hide, and this is also very much part of your program. Is like you don't need a billion people to follow you. You need a few people that trust you with everything, and so that's also cool. Because like when I was looking at Geek to social media stuff, like there are other coaches that have way more social media,
Yeah.
right? And like you guys have a great website, but it's not world class. There's no moving things with pictures on there and videos, but like you have resonance and you're able to speak to your ideal clients. And it's like all of the other stuff doesn't matter, because when you can see a person, that's all they want, and that's what they need to go forward. So that's just an open compliment to compliment the
I
first compliment.
Wow, thank you. I received that. That really means the world to me. Yeah, I've always
Receiving compliments also shows a lot of like self-development. So that's also very impressive.
thank you. One of the things that I love about the work, right? It's not even my work; it's the work. Is I've always been very clear. My job when I don't do enrollment calls anymore, but when I did, my job was never to close the sale. My job was to sell the person on themselves. If I could see the potential in them, then my job was to pull that out and amplify it and be like, I see what you're building. I want in on that. I will help you build this. If I couldn't see it, then I don't make them an offer. And I'm like, it's too murky still. You haven't figured it out yet. When you're not ready, go work with Jacob. Figure this out first. I don't know how to help you yet. That's and the way that we coach, and what Jacob was talking about is reaching inside somebody. Is like my job is not to give you the tactics that work, because the tactics are going to change. And if whatever you build now 6 months from now might be completely obsolete, like the systems of it might need some tweaking. But if you don't have something that you fully are committed to energetically, if you're not like, I love this work, like I don't care if it breaks, I will rebuild it, I love it that much, then you're not going to have long-term success. Our job is to hook you up to that truth, when no matter what, like if your kid boffed on your couch tomorrow, you wouldn't just be like, ew, gross, get out kid and get out couch, right? Like you're just like, I will clean you up and I will take care of you and I will stay up with you all night for like 3 freaking nights in a row. If your business doesn't feel like that precious, where you would want to go through whatever you have to go through to build it, that's what we need to dial in. That's the clarity that we start with, so that and there will be some testing and there will be some false starts. There were, even with you, Jacob, right? I just want to say, like, for all our tools and for all our gifts and whatnot, we don't always nail it the very first time. We often do, but not always. But you have the system. If you use the same tools and you just tweak them a little bit, you'll find it. It's always right there. And it's a matter of finding your own truth, because that is ultimately what all the money in the world, where it all comes from, is when you're committed to your truth and you're doing what you were designed to do. And everybody that I admire, that I look up to and get mentorship from, is that they wake up alive. It's not about the money, and because they're committed to finding it for themselves first. That's what's so interesting about it. I'm doing this work for my personal development first. Personal development, not profit. I just want to be clear about that. For me, it's about how can your journey inspire mine and show me all the ways that I'm hurting or where I'm stuck and so on and so forth. And when I can be committed to that, the money always comes, because the money comes to that. Does that make sense?
I think if you go, is that I use that line. I don't know if I took that from you. Thank you if I did. There's a guy in our program who you just graduated the program, and this is the one thing before what I think is so important. What you said is that you have to be able to. Your coach can trust you, but you have to be able to trust yourself. You have to be able to believe in your vision at least as much as your coach does, or at least borrow your coach's belief in the vision. Because I think that part is also so important. Because what you're saying is true, but you can see that in someone. If they're not willing to take that step with you, you can't help them. But if they're willing to buy into the trust you have, then you're good to go.
Exactly. How do people reach you, Jacob, if they want to explore working with you? And does anybody have questions? We have a few more minutes. We can do some Q&A. But Jacob, tell people where they can reach you.
We have an awesome, just to show how easy it is to make money in this business, we have a 3-day challenge called Close One Client. You can get it on www.8to8course. That's 8 weeks to $8,000 in recurring client revenue, 8to8course.com. Reach out to us. My wonderful wife and I are consistently putting out content on all of our social platforms, or usually just repurposing what Geeta says and giving her credit for it. So it is our pleasure to be of service. And like I said to someone last night, like, even if we don't use you, I so believe in the power of coaching and the power of kind of democratizing experience and education. I want to help you for free. I don't care. Like, if you want to work with us, yeah, it's like an investment. But if you want to just get the inspiration that you could work with us, that you could work with Geeta, we are putting out like stuff that people are charging thousands of dollars for. We give that shit away for free. And so we're here to serve. And it's what an honor to be here with you. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jacob. I see that people are posting questions in the chat. So somebody says 2 questions, but then I don't see the question yet. Type faster. No pressure. Let me scroll up here. And
Well,
see
you'll come back later also, right? We'll come back
Yeah,
later
yeah.
to answer the questions.
I just want to see if there's any questions that we missed, because I did ask for to do. What's the best place to find? Okay, I coach corporate women. Somebody asks, what's the best place? Oh, wait, here. Where's the best place to reach corporate women? Okay, so it's the same one. Perfect. Facebook or LinkedIn. Second question for new coaches. Do you recommend offering 1 program or 2? Jacob, you start.
I love it. Okay, number 1 is, where are most of your people? If you have 0, again, traditionally we think of Facebook as what, moms over 40 go on to. My daughter doesn't even know what Facebook is, right? And LinkedIn is like the corporate place. But if all of your following's on Facebook, start where people are. That's number 1. Go where your people are. And again, that's the most important thing. Your best clients are all there, and you can make a crap load of money not doing anything outside of the ordinary with no tips and tricks. So just go where your people are and start talking about the pain that your kinds of clients are in, and just be shocked to see how many people are like, wow, when I saw that really resonated with me. You're like, hello, right? That's number 1. Second question, for new coaches, do you recommend 1 offer or 2? So again, coaching is a business. So you need to get $1, and it's usually easier to get $1 from product number 1. So figure out 1 thing, get $1, and then figure out how you scale. That was the big thing with Geeta and I was exceptional at one-on-one coaching. Exceptional. I think I actually was.
I would say you're exceptional.
You're wonderful.
Own it, Jacob. Own it.
Right. So I was exceptional one-on-one, but then Geeta showed me how to build a group. So if you want to work with me one-on-one, I have that offering. But I had that offering and I had built it out, and it was lucrative enough that I could afford Geeta and I could afford to build my second business. So just build 1 thing first, but make sure you love that thing and then it pays you before you start to complicate it.
Exactly. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. Like, most of the people that come to us are recovering overcomplicators. I probably attract them because I'm one myself. Having yeah, right. That's who my people are. Oftentimes we're like, oh, here's what happened in my experience, like my lived experience. I went through this. We had my main program. This is before Impact with Influence. This is my previous life, where I had a PR program called Baby Got Booked. And then it was like a $2,000, at some point it was a $3,000 program, and we had built it out. And then people were like, oh yeah, but that's too high ticket. Like it's a lot. And then, you should have like a $17 thing and a $47 thing and a $57 thing and a $97 thing. And no matter how many things you have, there's always going to be some gap that you're like, you need another thing to fill. And you're so busy. And here's what the biggest problem is. Each thing needs to be promoted as its own product. So tell me something. You wake up in the morning, which story do you tell? What do you promote? Do you promote the $17 thing, or do you promote the $3,000 thing? What do you promote? How many calls to action? Because if you put more than 1 call to action, you're screwed, because no one's going to take any action. That was my problem. And so I killed it all, and I said, I'm going to do 1 freaking thing, just 1. And that's what we stuck to. And that's when our business took off, and I got my life back and my sanity back, because I was just dying inside. Because I was marketing all the pieces, and that was not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to coach. So start with 1. Pick the one that you're drawn to, not the most lucrative one, the one that lights you up. Because if you have the courage to pursue that feeling, that fire inside, you will always find the money. It may not be obvious at first. I'm not going to pretend it's going to be easy. But if you have the courage to follow your bliss and to play for joy first, the profit will always follow. If you play for profit, the profit tends to run just outside your reach at all times. And even if you happen to capture the profit, it'll always come out of some other account. Your health, your relationships, your self-esteem, something else will break. If you don't play for joy, you're going to end up broke. I said it. It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
I can't tell you how many people grab the small money because like, oh, well, again, like I have clients and I train them. And again, like I coach coaches and if you want to do that, that's awesome. But I have so many people that come into me and they're like, I want to do this kind of coaching. I'm like, cool. So we build your business. Then someone's like, wow, how are you doing that? Can you train me to coach? And they're like, they'll pay me. And I'm like, don't take that stupid client because it's going to confuse you unless this is a passion for you, right? And again, I have plenty of people who, again, I can claim I can give good advice and I can coach. It doesn't say that all people will listen. But inevitably what happens is, it's like, oh God, I got this client. I really don't want to help them with their business. They really annoy me. And then it's like, are you a coach for coaches? Do you do this? And it's like, So simplify it and have trust that if you're good at what you do and you're clear and it's a niche enough, niche, figure out one particular person's problem and talk to them. Again, you'll get what Gita was able to do with me, which is I'm like, oh my God, where's this woman? I'm like, I don't even know how this is happening, but I just feel drawn to you because you can understand me so well.
The person. I didn't need to understand Jacob's business. We actually re-racked his business. I needed to understand how he was wired and help him connect with his truth and what would work for him. Somebody asked, Jacob, does your course help to dial in or design content for new coaches?
Both. Again, we learn from the best. We learn from Gita, so we way overpack. Like it's crazy the amount of stuff we get in there. I have a bunch of clients. Again, the good news is that I just want to get you money by the end of week 8. I want to have you that $10,000, right? But we give you content that you can spend the next 35 years working on, and both of those things are things that we do. And so again, it's like we're very good with that because we learn from Gita, which is that if you just all we're focusing on is how do we get you there? And both of those things are necessary in order for you to get there. Either you need to know what to do, or if you have stuff and it's underperforming and you're not getting those, again, month after month of 10 to 20 grand, we will help you dial it in so that it
gets there. Yeah, and it's something that you can sustain. It's not something that makes you want to poke your eyeballs out. That's the most important thing. Because no matter how much money you're making, if you hate it, it's not sustainable. It will break, or it will break you. So I love that. I think we're out of time. This has been so fun. We have to do this again.
You're the best. Thank you.
Oh my God, it's so fun. So folks, if you have any questions, if you want to work with either Jacob or I, depending on where you're at in your journey, if you're very, very early, still figuring things out, go talk to Jacob. If you're an established coach and you want to go bigger, you want more systems, you want to simplify, come to me. That's how I kind of separate things. Just tag either of us in the comments, reach out, use any of the links that we put on the screen. We love you. I think this is the last live this year because we are shutting for the holidays. I will be around in the Facebook group, of course, but I will see you all next year. Bye.
Thank you all very much.
Often we manifest drama and struggle to keep us honest. We don't trust expansion with ease because deep down, we distrust our own motives. Much of this conflict occurs deep within us. It's pernicious, feeding a pattern of self-sabotage that we aren't always aware is there. This disbelief in our own success is hidden, so we have to shine awareness on it and peel back the layers to address it head-on. We have to develop discernment without judgment to make our unseen doubts visible and begin addressing them without shame. Only by understanding and developing true desire and discernment can we fully live our vision.